It's certainly a privilege to be a part of the nomination of Arthur Foster to the Career Tech Foundation Hall of Fame. It would be impossible to portray all of the community service activities of this great man in the 3 to 5 minutes that I have, but I will certainly try. Arthur Morgan Foster, may I refer to him as Art, and his greatest supporter, his wife Carolyn, have truly lived lives of service to not only Bristol and Central Tech, but to Oklahoma and America as well. They have received so many awards and accolades that are too numerous to mention. Ask why this life of service? Art's simple answer would be, because it needed to be done and I enjoy doing it. Art retired from banking in 1972, but not from the service to his fellow man. It was during the late 1960s when the concept of providing high school students, adults, business and industry, with the opportunity for quality skills training was evolving. Being in business and dealing with the industry most of his life, Art recognized the fact that the tremendous value that this new educational endeavor meant to his area and to the state of Oklahoma. He was very instrumental in the formation and development of one of the most outstanding area vocational technical schools in the nation. Now, Doris says I'm prejudiced, but I'm truthful. Mr. Foster was elected as a Central Tech board member at large in the formation of the district. The board then selected him as their president. He served in that position until his death in 1998 and never drew an opponent. Folks, that's 31 years of service. Many times he related to us that as a board member, he represented the people and their desires as to what the school would be and eventually become. The general public and even many involved in today's career tech system may not recognize the work and value that people such as Art Foster and those of his area mean to the tremendous success that the system enjoys today. Thus, it is fitting that this honor be given to Arthur Foster this evening. How I wish that his philosophy of the duties and responsibilities of an educational board member be canned or a book be written for required reading for all members of these governing groups. His philosophy was that it was his and the governing board's duty to represent the citizenry who paid the taxes, to develop policies and procedures, and it was the superintendent's responsibility to implement those policies and procedures with board oversight. He also agreed with Dr. Tuttle's philosophy, some of you may have heard it, to never get into an argument with a person who buys paper by the roll and ink by the barrel. He also agreed with fellow Tracy Kelly's, board member Tracy Kelly's philosophy, never continue to stir manure because it continually will stink. Not only was Art known throughout the area and the state and the nation for his support for Votech education, but along with Carolyn Hughes, who is also a member of our Hall of Fame, he was instrumental in the formation of state and national organizations supporting Votech. So many times when we were in Washington visiting with our congressional delegation, Art always was warmly received, and when we left, the remarks by those who he visited were, "We are so very proud of what you're doing in Oklahoma. So many of the other states wish they had a system like ours." Art was very proud as a husband, father, and grandfather of his family, who you will meet later this evening, and their many accomplishments. He was proud of his service to his country as an officer in the armed services. He was also proud of his Native American heritage, as well as his affiliation with his beloved Votech system. As I have said so many times, Art was like this solid oak tree of Creek County, with roots running deep, his branches of influence reaching throughout the area, state, and nation in the promotion of Votech education, economic, and industrial development. He was a sturdy, genteel man with somber mannerisms and the influence of a Native American chief. I am so thankful to the administration, board, and staff of Central Tech, who has continued with the philosophy of Mr. Foster, and to the Career Tech Foundation for accepting their nomination of Arthur Foster's induction into the Hall of Fame with the other great leaders of Oklahoma Career Tech Foundation. I know that so many of them who are already there would say, "Welcome to this great man and supporter." And now I would like for all of the family of Art Foster, please stand. They are at these 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10 tables. And Mrs. Foster, would you continue to stand? This is Carolyn Foster, Mr. Foster's wife, who has supported him all the many years. And while would the rest of the family come forward, please, to receive this award this evening. Dr. George Foster, who's Dean of the College of Optometrists at Northeastern Oklahoma at Tahlequah. Steve Foster, who is an attorney at Bristow. Claire Dahl, who is a retired educator from Bristow. And while they're coming up here, would all the Central Tech staff please stand? Come on. And I'd like to present to you Dr. Foster, who will have some remarks to make.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hopper, and bringing back a lot of good memories. And I think of Votech, I can't think of anybody but John Hopper and Arthur Foster, who were a perfect team. John was so innovative and exciting, trying new things, and Arthur tried to keep him grounded. But as growing up, I think of the things that my father stood for: commitment, faith, and consequences. And the commitment of his life to Votech is exemplified tonight, and with such wonderful partnerships of the staff and the board and the superintendent. As growing up, when he would come home late at night, I'd ask him what he did. Well, he said, "I'm a banker." So what do you do? I'd loan money. He says, "Well, are you doing it this late?" And he says, "Well, I have to go to meetings." And as I've gotten older and understand what going to meetings about, either you go to meetings for fear that they'll talk about you if you're not there, or that you think that you can affect change in a positive way. There's nobody I know of in my life who went to more meetings than Arthur Foster. And yet his commitment to those, he wasn't afraid of what they'd talk bad about him. He wanted to make a change. And he had faith that if you throw the pebble in the pond where the ripples go, the faith that the Lord would provide a place for the enriched mankind. And the consequences of all he's done is certainly a wonderful honor tonight. I think he would be embarrassed to be here. He always said it wasn't bad getting old until you got to be 80, and then he started feeling a little old. He would say no. He didn't want any honor to him. He just believed in living it, and that commitment and faith, and the consequences. Votech and Drummerite and Bristow and Sapulpa is a result of that. And then probably the other consequence he'd take the greatest bit of pride in is the number of great-grandchildren that are here tonight. Can they hold up the great-grandbabies? Are there any of them here? There's one back there. And then the grandchildren, if they would stand up right here. And grandchildren, right. And then out of Arthur and Carolyn. And I don't know if you realize this, we are so blessed to have a role model that was committed, went to meetings, that at one time Arthur was the president of the Votech board, Carolyn was the president of the Bristow School Board, and they were recognized as the only husband and wife team at the National School Board meeting, that they were the only husband and wife team presidents at the same time, 2 different schools. So on behalf of the Foster family and the Votech Central Votech family, we thank you very much for this honor.